Hi everyone, welcome to Easy Peasy, and today I wanted to talk to you about sharing. So sharing is kind of tricky with little kids. We start talking about sharing probably from age 2 until 5 is when they're actually going to be learning about sharing. So I'm going to give you some tips and kind of the process of how to teach your little ones about sharing. The first thing I want to talk to you about is setting your goal for what you expect sharing to look like within your family and for your child. So it's important to know that sharing is a concept that they don't really get until about age 4 or even 5 because it's not something tangible that they can see or understand. They don't often think about, you've probably realized this, they don't often think about other people's feelings or how they're going to take it, the other person is going to see it. So, telling your kid, well, how would you feel if they didn't do this? They can't necessarily understand that concept yet. So when we talk about sharing, we're going to be trying to put it in very tangible ways that we can help our child learn a good habit in order to work well with others. But it is definitely a habit that requires routine at this age. It's not something that they can intellectually or emotionally understand. So we are forming that habit with them, getting them to form that habit. So we are training them in that habit of what we would like to see so that they are able to practice it and get along with others and not drive you crazy with their siblings. So the first thing is setting a goal. So what do you want sharing to look like in your family with your kids, with your toys, versus when they are out at a playground, at school? Have an idea, a goal of what that should look like. So we have certain toys in our house. Most of our toys, the majority of our toys, are for everyone. So even if a child gets a toy like blocks or crayons or something like that that's shareable for their birthday or for Christmas, they are toys that are really for everyone. Now, we kind of have a general rule with them the first day or two when someone gets a toy like that, new markers or a new set of magnet tiles right at their birthday or Christmas or something. In the first day or two, we say, no, that was their special present, so they get to play with it. But in general, they stay in the living room. They're for everyone to use. And so those are general use items. We also have a few very select items that are very special to the kid, and we can see this become their favorite thing. And they do not have to share. We do not require them to share these things. So my daughter has a little Gabby's Dollhouse set that has very small figurines in it. She loves it. It was a birthday present. She would play with it every day, and that is something that isn't really something that the younger kids are interested in yet, but it's also something that she wants to keep safe from the younger siblings. She doesn't want the pieces to get lost. She doesn't want it to get destroyed. So that's something that is more specific to her. My son has Spider-Man, and this is his favorite. It was a birthday present. He has a Spider-Man and a Batman, and they're both his favorite. And those are things that I've seen him kind of take a liking to and want to keep as his own. So those we don't necessarily require him to share it. We ask if he'd like to give his sibling a turn with it and see where it goes from there. So we have, most of our toys are general use. They're for the whole family. They don't belong to you specifically. They're out in the living room. Everybody can use them. Then we have a couple of items that are specific to them. All right, so this we say belongs to my son, okay? And the other toy belongs to my daughter. The rest belong to all of us. So those kind of goals and what you expect to see with those, okay? So the goal is our kids are required to share, but when we use the word share, this is another thing. This is a concept they can't really understand because it's not tangible. So we like to say take turns. All right, so when I think of a goal, it is that my kids learn to take turns with the toys. So this is something we're going to talk about in the next step, which is modeling this behavior. But I wanted to differentiate our goals for the general use, everybody's toys, versus the individual toys that we say they are allowed to have. And you can decide in your family if they're going to have a bunch of toys that are their own or if they're going to have all general use toys, how you want it to look for your kids. And then we'll start with this habit that we're forming with them so they can understand it and they can, abide by this. So with the toys that are general use, we share them, we take turns, which is what we like to say, and they stay in the general area. With the ones that we say they're allowed to have in their own, they may be in the general use area, but if they don't want the other kids to touch it or to play with it, then they have to put it somewhere away. So that means they need to go put it in their room. If they share a room, they can put it in their drawer. They can put it on their side of the closet. They can put it on their bed, wherever they want to put it away from everyone else, because that signifies to the other kids that that is for them and it's put away. So it's not a temptation for the other kids, because if they see it out, we have a 1-year-old. If he sees her toys out, he doesn't understand that that's just for her, for the 5-year-old. So we get her to understand, if you have it out here, the other kids are going to think that it's okay to play with it. So if you don't want anyone to play with it, if you want to keep it safe, you need to find a place to put it away, okay? And help them with where that place should be, so that they start learning to put their stuff away that they don't want anyone else to touch, which is okay in our family. Again, that's a decision you make for your family. So that's the first thing, is you setting up the goals. What does that look like? If you're gonna go to a public park, a public playground, and your kids are gonna bring toys, have in your mind, you and whoever's bringing them to the park, the other grown-up that may be taking them, what the rules are for bringing toys to the park. If you bring a toy to the park, are you expected to share it with your sibling? Are you expected to share it with other kids that you may meet at the park? Or is it okay to say no? Like, and go over that before they bring it. Okay, if you bring Spider-Man to the park, are you going to give a turn to your sister with Spider-Man? Are you going to give a turn to other people we meet? Or you can bring a toy to the park, and we don't expect you to share it with strangers. We don't expect you to share it with your sister. You can keep it, and you can say, would you like to share? And you can say no. That's an option. So just so you understand, and the other grown-ups in your kid's life understand what the expectation is and what the goal is we're working towards, so that you're all on the same page with that. So that's the very first thing, is you setting up the goals for your family and for your kids, what you want sharing to look like. The next thing, and very important when you're setting up those goals, realize that kids do not understand the word sharing, because it's not a concept they can get yet. It's not something really tangible to them. And a lot of times they can't remember their own experience, which is what we're going to talk about next. So the second thing we're going to talk about is modeling behavior. There is a lot of ways to model behavior. Okay, so we have everything from when one sibling won't let the other one have a toy. You say, remember how do you feel right now? Are you sad because he won't give you a turn? And then, well, let's remember that. And then next time, remember when your brother wouldn't give you a turn? Do you remember how you were a little sad? Do you think he might be sad now because you won't let him have a turn? And so talking them through that process, but catching it when they're on the receiving end of the sad feelings of not being shared with, and being able to get them to identify that feeling so that they can recall it later will help them with that. So modeling in that way, where you are kind of refereeing. Another thing is, after we've gone through the modeling, you can take a step back and you could say, how should we solve this problem? And you'll be surprised. After a little while, they'll say, I'm going to have it for 2 more minutes and then I'll give you a turn, okay? And they kind of, come to that on their own because they've been hearing your voice. So with modeling, you know how your kids hear everything you say, and you know how they repeat your little phrases, and you're like, wow, that's what I sound like, because you can hear exactly what you sound like from your child. So if you verbally express things about sharing, about taking turns, they will start repeating that internally and repeating that to themselves and to their siblings and to their playmates. So if we say, wow, that was really great that you gave him a turn with your toy. That was really great. There are so many blocks here. There's enough for 2 people. Let's give this person some, and then we still have plenty to play with. The more you say that, the more they're going to say it to themselves, and they're going to verbalize it automatically because it becomes a habit. They hear your voice and they start to repeat it, as we know. So with toys that have many pieces, a lot of times, say blocks or dominoes or a puzzle or whatever, you can train them, you can form them in ways that are understanding, I have a lot and this is enough for me to be generous and to let the other person have some. All right, so when we have, and you will hear them start to say this happens with food as well. So when your child comes up and they ask you, can I have some of your chips, Mom? Can I have some of your raisins, whatever? You can say, yes, I actually, or you could say, yes, look, I have a lot of raisins. I have enough to give you some. And then we both have some. And that will make you happy and me happy, because raisins are very yummy. And they will start to mimic that and start to model that behavior. And this is another thing with something that is not to be shared because it is something you want for yourself. So if they come up and they grab your phone, you say, no, I'm not sharing my phone with you. That's my phone. That belongs to me. And they are also allowed to have something that belongs to them that they don't have to share, depending on, again, what your goals are. So modeling, we take the times where everything is going well. I like that you're working together. I like that you gave him a turn with your toy. I like that you waited until your brother was done with that toy and put it down, and then you went to play with it and took your turn then. In the beginning, you will have to referee more. So you say, hey, let's think of a solution. How about after you're done with your turn, then your sister can have a turn? And usually they will say yes. Sometimes they'll say no. And then you could say, how many minutes do you want to play with this? And sometimes they'll say 100 minutes, but most of the time they'll say 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Say, okay, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then can it be your sister's turn to have, to take a turn with the toys? And usually it's not a problem. So after you model that and you referee that and show them that, then a lot of times you'll hear them say to the other one, no, I'm playing with it, but in 3 minutes you can have a turn, okay? It obviously doesn't go perfect. We're talking about toddlers and small children here. So it is a habit, a forming of a habit that you're working on. The more tangible, the better. So taking turns, the word taking turns, that phrase helps a lot more than sharing in the beginning, okay? Although we are sharing with things when it comes to food or comes to a quantity of toys where we're giving them some and we have some to play with. The understanding that I have plenty and this person can have some because there's enough for both of us is the idea behind that. Again, you repeat, you repeat, you repeat. That's what the modeling is. And you try and catch the good behavior to praise, and then you referee when there's a problem until they can start getting it on their own. All right? Practice, practice, practice. The last point is practice, practice, practice. So give yourself and your child grace in this process because they are in the process of learning this. They're not going to conceptualize sharing. They're not going to get a good feeling from being generous at this age. So as adults, we can say, I feel good when I share with someone. I had this delicious dessert and I gave some of it to my coworker because I wanted them to experience how amazing this chocolate cake was. The kids are not going to have that amazing feeling at this age. We are teaching them the joy of giving. We're teaching them how to be generous. And they will develop that, all right? But probably not until age 5 will you start to see them say on their own, I'm going to save, and I have seen this, it just started with my daughter who's 5, I'm going to save this and give some to my brother because he really likes this. And I saw with a donut the first time, but we can cut it in half and then he can have half also because he really likes donuts and that will make him really happy. And I was like, that's awesome. That's a great idea. You're right. He will be really excited about that donut. Or something from school that they bring home that they save because they want to share it with their sibling. And I think that's really beautiful. It does not happen overnight, so be patient with your child, be patient with yourself. Remember every opportunity to model and to verbalize it. The more you verbalize it, the faster they're going to pick up on it. So good luck. Remember, have your goals set very clearly between you and whatever other grown-ups are around your child. Identify those goals and what you expect. And then the next one is modeling. Modeling in the good times when they do well, modeling as in refereeing between the kids, and verbally modeling it as much as you can in tangible ways. Tangible is the best. If we just say the word sharing, they're not always familiar with what that means. Not relying on their emotions because they may not feel like giving their sibling a turn. They may not feel the joy of sharing their toys or feel in that moment, well, how would you feel if your sister wouldn't share with you? That's not really going to work at this age. Okay, so we're really training them the habit of taking turns. It becomes a habit, not necessarily feeling that we're going for. Okay, that's it. Practice, practice, practice. Let me know how your sharing is going. Comment below if you have other ideas for a video. This was a suggestion from one of my subscribers on YouTube to make this video for you guys about tips for sharing. So I hope it helped. And just like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and let me know what you'd like to see future videos on. Have a great day. Bye.